This is the second video for section 25.2, and we are looking at a bar graph here. And so bar graphs are pretty easy to read, and I think most people are familiar with those already. As you can see on this one, it is labeled the way it needs to be. It has a title. I'm trying to get my mouse out of the way over here. It has a title, and each axis is labeled already. We've already got the time along the horizontal axis, right? This was the duration in years. And so it's easy to read, right, that the Korean War was 3 years, the Civil War was 4 years, and so on. And so that's basically, this one is a horizontal bar graph, and it can be vertical or horizontal. These two are vertical bar graphs. And we're comparing two graphs to see which one displays the data in an accurate way. And so when you're looking at the one on the left, you can see that it does not start at 0, and it starts at 3.14 and then goes up. So it looks like interest rates are rising drastically, when in truth, if you look at the one on the right, they're staying pretty close to the same, because the one on the right is actually the more accurate, right? That is the one that we would prefer in this case. And basically it's just showing that the interest rates are not even varying very much. They were staying, and if you look at the one on the left, you can see they went from 3.14 to 3.152, which is a very, very small change, which is showing on the graph on the right. So that would be the one that is most accurate. And then when we look at this next one, this is just explaining how to make the graph. The bars should be the same width. The length of the bars determined by the data. There's a space between each bar. We are using even increments on the vertical or horizontal scale. Usually the horizontal scale is time, so that's easy to use the right increments. Like in this case, we're using months. There is a title, and both the horizontal and vertical axis are labeled. So all of those are important whenever we're going to prepare a bar graph. Now, we're not going to actually practice that today, but there are some in the homework in your textbook and the homework booklet. This one is a stacked bar graph, and so it's basically grouping different things together here. We have a bar for the grocery sales, basically, but then it's split into the types of groceries, and you can kind of see that most of them are all, they're all rising a little bit, it looks like, although in the green it went up some and then down, so frozen food and then bakery. So this one just shows a lot of data in each bar, and that's kind of how that one's laid out. So that is a special kind of bar graph that you might see. Circle graphs. So we're going to talk quite a bit about circle graphs. This is one of the ones in the past we've always had you make quite a few of, and really I just want you to know, how do we split this data up? And for us, we're not going to get too complicated with this using a protractor or anything, because we don't want to go into all of that. Your book kind of talks about that in degrees. And so on this one, you can see that they labeled on the outside of the circle graph each category. I kind of like to label it right in the circle graph, but either way is okay. And so it's also called a pie chart, as you know. Now, this is explaining how to split this up. Determine the percent for each segment. Do this by dividing each portion by the whole amount. Draw a circle with a point in the center. Draw a line from the top of the circle to the center. Really, you are not going to make that many circle graphs, but this is how you would make it. Estimate the size of each segment. Now, your book talks about changing the percent to degrees and measuring that with a protractor, but we don't really care to get that complicated. Really, I just want you to understand something about circle graphs. And then you move around the circle clockwise. Be sure to label it with a title and label each section of the circle. And this is what I was talking about. The book shows converting each percent to degrees. We're not doing that, and we won't be using a protractor. Okay? So This one says construct a circle graph using this information. I've actually already divided the circle graph up for you, and we're going to round each percent to the nearest tenth of a percent. Well, one of the things that we would need to know on this is the total amount. And so if we add all of these, right, we're going to add them. And I already know this total, you guys, so I had this figured ahead of time. We add these up to get our total of 2,320. Okay, and then I'm going to go to the next slide so we can kind of have all of our work on one slide for each one of these, and then I will kind of transfer the numbers over on that. So for clothes, we're going to take the 355 and divide that by our total of 2,320. And then we're going to calculate each one of these. So I'm going to write these out. 575 and food was 755. 150 for savings. And miscellaneous was 485. So we're dividing, and when we divide we get the decimal, right? So this decimal is 0.1530, so that's going to be 15.3%. And this one is 0.2478. So when we round that to the nearest tenth of a percent, remember that is what we're doing on these. This one's going to be 24.8%, and then 0.3254, so that will be 32.5%. This one, the savings is 0.0646, so that's going to be 6.5%. And then the last one, I'm kind of squeezing that in there, is 0.2090, so that one is 20.9%. Now, if you add these all together, they should be 100% or super close to 100%. If it's off by just a little tiny bit, that's actually okay, acceptable. You might want to just change one of them to round it in the other way, but these actually do add up if you check them. And we're going to label this graph Milton Family Expenses, and then we also will label inside, right? So I have it split. You can see that rent is very close to 25%, and it was at 24.8%. And you're going to have to just kind of estimate which one's which here. This one was food. Food was the biggest category, so you can see that this is the biggest part of the circle that I have here, 32.5%. The smallest portion was savings, and that was 6.5%. And then let's see, I have 15 and 20, so the 20 is going to go here, 20.9. This is miscellaneous. So 20.9%. And then this last one was clothes, and it is 15.3%. And then that's our circle graph. Okay. I have one more here, and I would like to get this in on this video. So I've already got it split up, and this is just favorite jean colors. And then, you know, I said that when you're making a circle graph, you're going to start at the very top and draw your first line to, that's not exactly straight. Let me try to do that again. Yeah, you can see that this can be tricky. And you'll find it to be tricky as well. Okay, so our biggest category for jeans, no, I mean, we can see that that's going to happen. Our color is blue. 57% would be a little bit over halfway. So we're just going to go about there and say, whoops, I gotta do that. 57% for blue. And then we're going to split up the rest of these. Now, some of these are really small, so I'm going to kind of do the next category that's a little bit bigger. And you guys, I am strictly estimating here and trying to make this look decent. Whoops. Okay, come on. So 19%, you can kind of relate this to 25% when you're trying to figure that out. It's 19%. And then the other two, I'm going to kind of split about, I think I might need this to go a little bit further this way. Oops. And then I'm going to split this in about half. That didn't quite go half, I don't think. Because my last one then, my last two, this one was beige, which I think would be maybe like khaki. And then this one is like a 2/3 split between gray and red. So I'm going to go, nope, maybe a little further this way. So gray is 8%. I can see I kind of did this different here. I'm going to fix that. And put blue, 57%. And then last is red. Red's one of my favorite colors, but not necessarily for jeans. Okay, so that's definitely not perfect there. And I think that I would want to kind of fill this in where you can't see all my, where they come to the center there, because I have the ability to do that. And that's kind of how you would make a circle graph if you were estimating percents. So just wanted you to kind of see that. It's not perfect, but at least it looks reasonable, I think, when you look at it. And then I had just a couple of funny graphs here for pie graph. People who find you on Facebook. There's a big portion of high school people you hated, college people you hated, work colleagues you hate, and actual friends is that little sliver of green, which I just thought this was funny because, as you guys know, we have a lot of people, if you do Facebook or any other social media, there's a lot of people on there that you probably don't even hardly remember or talk to. Anyway, and then here's one more. When my alarm goes off in the morning, I actually am the top category there. I jump out of bed. I wouldn't say I necessarily jump out of bed, but when my alarm goes off, I get up and I just go. And then I don't do the snoozing thing. And let's see, I hit snooze and go back to sleep. I think I hit snooze, but I actually turn the alarm off. I'll just count to 100 and then I'll get up. That's kind of that purple. If I think about everything I'm going to do when I get up, it will go faster. And then what alarm? You mean the one I set to PM and not AM? That's a frustrating thing that you definitely don't want to do. All right. Well, that's the end of this video and the end of all the lessons in this class. So I'm going to say bye.